Good day and welcome to March's Women's Entrepreneurship Week program. Thank you for our in-person audience who is here with us at USPTO's main headquarters in Alexandria, Virginia, and our audience, our virtual audience online. Happy Women's History Month. I'm excited that we are celebrating women entrepreneurs and inventors this month, but of course we celebrate them all through the year. I'm Nathania Ferguson, the manager of USPTO's Office of Innovation Outreach. My team and I are responsible for supporting USPTO's goal of driving inclusive innovation and supporting underserved innovators by providing programming to underserved and under-resourced communities of innovators. And for example, we have our WE program today. But we are excited to collaborate with our colleagues at USPTO's Office of Patent International Corporation to bring you this month's Women's Entrepreneurship Program with a focus on global initiatives and opportunities for women. Before we dig into this rich conversation, I just have a few housekeeping notes. So for our online audience, if for any reason you get disconnected, simply use the link that got you here to reconnect with us. If you miss any portion of today's program, don't worry. This program is going to be recorded. So for both our online and in-person audience, you can watch this insightful conversation at another time that's convenient for you. We value your feedback. So please take note that at the end of today's program, there will be a survey. Please take the time to provide us your response. We're always excited about enhancing the content of future programming. It is now my pleasure to introduce Vaishali Uddappa, USPTO's Commissioner for Patents. She will be the moderator for today's panel discussion. Over to you.
Thank you so much. So welcome to WE Wednesday. And so I'm so excited to be here and to have this amazing panel with me. And just a little bit about myself. I am the Commissioner for Patents here at the United States Patent and Trademark Office. And I am, in essence, the Chief Executive Officer or Chief Operating Officer of the Patents Division, which is approximately 10,000 people here at the USPTO. So work with amazing team and all the examiners and everyone else who works to make sure that our patents, get through the system, and we work on the policy and everything else like that. So, as I said, welcome to WE Wednesday, and the USPTO's WE initiative, which is Women's Entrepreneurship Initiative, is very community focused, collaborative, and creative, and it encourages and empowers women so that we can have more women founders across America and the globe. And I am so excited to have this amazing panel here from truly across the globe. We have representatives from Canada, Philippines, Namibia, and Paraguay here with us today. And the goal of today is to increase awareness of the resources and services provided to women by the other intellectual property offices, share best practices on what is being done to help women obtain intellectual property, and provide women with understandings of the importance of building your network and so that it can help with your commercialization. So now what I'm going to do is I'm first going to ask each one of you to introduce yourself and just tell us a little bit about where you're from and what your current role is. So Vivian, could you please start?
So good afternoon and thank you for having me. I'm Vivian Kashiongwa. I'm the Chief Executive Officer of the Business and Intellectual Property Authority of Namibia, and we are responsible for intellectual property registration and maintenance as well as business registration and maintenance. Thank you.
Thank you. And Claudia?
Good afternoon, all. Well, in the first place, I would like to thank the USPTO for the invitation to be part of this symposium and principally to be part of this panel with such outstanding professionals. Well, it's a great honor for me to be here. I am currently head of the Intellectual Property Office in Paraguay, DINAPI. I am an attorney. I studied in Paraguay and pursued further studies in Spain. I did an LLM in IP in Alicante, and also an LLM in publicity rights and in Madrid. And now I am, after 20 years of practice in the private field, I am head, as mentioned, I'm head of the IP office and part of the government to finally serve for my country.
Thank you. And Cliffendy.
Good afternoon, everyone. So my name is Cliffendy Pierre-Louis. I'm the Acting Director General for the Services to Business branch at the Canadian Intellectual Property Office, CIPO. I just want to echo the message from Viviane. A real pleasure to be here today during this session, surrounded by so many of you distinguished guests. In terms of what I do, so my team is responsible for the overall administration of the CIPO service strategy. So we are making sure that clients are satisfied, that we have processes and procedure in place to meet their expectation. I'm also responsible for the team that is responsible for the IP awareness and education program for Canada, and also marketing, promotion, outreach, communication. So it's really a client-centric approach in making sure that our clients have the information that they need to be able to make informed decision around their intellectual property. Thank you.
And finally, Felicita.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. So, and a pleasant, happy Women's Week for this week to all our participants here in the auditorium and those who are in the Zoom. So a pleasant, happy Women's Week to all of us. I'm Felicita Aguilar, so you can call me Feli. I'm the Chief Administrative Officer of the Human Resource Management and Development Division of IPO Philippines. So aside from the head of the human resource, the office was also delegated to oversee or to monitor the gender and development programs of the IPO field in pursuit of the development, gender initiatives and gender development agenda of the Philippines under the supervision of the Philippine Commission on Women. So the IPO field has been complying and performing tasks in terms of promoting women welfare and women equality across the organization. That's all. Thank you.
So as I said, as you can see, we really have a panel from all across the globe. And so I'm going to start off with the first question, and it's just going to go to Cliffendy. So Cliffendy, you know, I would love for you to talk a little bit about the main challenges that you see for women innovators in accessing IP, and what has the Canadian Intellectual Property Office done to leverage, or how do they leverage to increase the role of women in IP? And what role can IPOs have in overcoming these challenges?
Thanks. So there's so many challenges for women in IP. I think from a Canadian perspective, when we're looking at external clients, the women that come to us often come when it's too late, right? So they find themselves in a situation where, because of lack of awareness or not having the proper knowledge, they have made decisions that jeopardize their protection of intellectual property, or they find themselves even into impeding someone else's intellectual property. So first challenge is really having the knowledge and understanding what intellectual property is, and also the value proposition, because I think a lot of people do they may know that they have IP, but for some reason they will not choose to proceed in protecting IP. And we have statistics in Canada that showcase the fact that women, because of many challenges, are not doing so. And when we're looking at where these challenges may come from, we're looking at, for example, we've heard from women that lack of network and mentors, right? So people have a hard time seeing themselves because they don't see models, like they don't see role models to actually connect to say, oh, this is where I can be, this is what I can do, right? Financing is a huge issue. In Canada, we have statistics that show that it's really more difficult for women to access financing compared to men. Something else that comes up a lot, and it primarily associated with the fact that they don't appear to have the knowledge to have intelligent conversation, right? When we talk about intellectual property, is they're having a hard time with IP lawyers and IP agents, for example, right? So, and this is combined with the corporate culture, male-dominated environment where they go and they ask for information, and because they don't have the basics, they find themselves not being recognized for the value that they bring forward in terms of innovation. So at CIPO, what we do is that we look at it from an internal perspective and also from an external perspective. So when we're looking at internal, the good news for us is that some of you may have heard this morning, we are at parity. So we're looking at 52% of our workforce that is women. And we really put in place a 3-year framework in terms of equity, diversity, inclusion, and accessibility work plan that is really there to increase the representation across all levels. So from the entry level to the executive level, we just make sure that women are represented. I did mention that we are at 52%, but now we find ourselves having to nurture that talent that we've just hired and also making sure that we are able to retain them, right? So changing the culture is really important, making sure that women feel welcome and valued in the work that they do within the organization. And we have employee network. So we have the Women's Network, for example, where women can go and have a safe, healthy space to have conversation, to talk about the challenges that they're experiencing, and also to bring forward these challenges so that we can make the changes. And I think some of the stats that we show in Canada, 1 out of 10 patent inventor is a woman. So 90% of the patent that we have are from men, right? We also see STEM, for example, the STEM field, only 23% of the workforce in STEM field are women. So there's a lot of challenges to overcome these issues, and we're trying through internally to overcome these issues. But also from an external perspective, we have a well-rounded IP awareness and education services. So we're looking at over 150 tools, resources to support women. And we really started last year with the World IP Day in just putting forward a web presence where the women can go on our website and just look for specific information to help them navigate through this complex world of intellectual property. And we just want to make sure that as much as we put the resources and the tools, we also put the information that showcase visibility of successful women, right? Making sure that they can see role models and they can see people that have successfully secure IP and have a list of contact, right? People that they can connect with and start being supported in their journey. And the last point that I'd like to make is that we also have what I called dedicated support services. So we have IP advisors. So this is free of charge. You can connect with someone within our team where this person will give you personalized information around the information that you're seeking to know or to learn about IP. And if we don't have the information, we'll make sure that someone else can give you that information. And we are able to provide support from a basics perspective, basic IP information, but also advanced information. And people can come to us 1 time, 3 times, 100 times, right? We are there to really provide that support and making sure that women are equally and fairly supported with the resources that we have.
Thank you so much. And, you know, so much of what you said resonates with the work that we're doing here in the U.S. And so even with our women's entrepreneurship, you know, the web presence, right? If you go to our website for the same things that you brought up that we've sort of identified that are so critical for women to become better equipped to be entrepreneurs and innovators, we see helping them identify their IP. So we've created the IP identifier tool, easy way for people to answer a few questions and to figure out what type of IP they have. Also, the access to funding is so important. And so part of our website is focused to help with that. And then finally, building your network. So there's another whole pillar on our website that talks about that. So it's so interesting that, we see, wherever you are, these are very similar problems. And it's so good that different countries are working on this. And I'd love to hear perspectives on some of the other, like the challenges you've seen and, other panelists to provide. So if you have any thoughts or anything.
Thank you. So I think the challenges that we face are similar in some ways, but it also depends on the level of development or where your country is. So for us, I think we are not at the stage where we probably have access to financing that we can direct our women to. But what we try to do is to look at it from a national perspective, because there are specific policies and strategies in place that try to at least promote women and bring them, get them out there to participate equally in the economy. So we've got policies, and what the policies then do is they bring a group of, we are collaborators, like you have different offices and agencies and so on, and whatever we do, at least we do it together instead of running the race alone, because sometimes if you source fundings, you can get it better through institutions of higher learning as opposed to as an IP officer trying to get a specific woman, attached and getting the financing. But I think the challenges are the same, maybe even more, because we have to go as far as the grassroots level to really get the information and advocacy on IP out there, and then you try to use at least those that you have capacitated to then transfer the knowledge to others, or at least use them as examples to, raise hope and show that we actually can all get there. So I think our challenges, and also from Namibia's perspective, our IP office is not an independent office on its own, so it manages different portfolios. So you have to strike a balance between not being swallowed up by administering businesses. Everybody's about forming businesses and running them, and then the IP gets a bit under the cloud. But then what we try to do is to package the whole issue of why you want to formalize and register your business, and then you bring the, for example, registration of trademarks as a byproduct in order to show the value that IP can add to your business and so on. So we try to sell the services as packages like that. But I think when I share with you what we've done with respect to really capacitating women, I think we are trying to get somewhere, but it's really an issue of leveraging and sharing resources to empower your women. Thanks.
Claudia, do you have anything to add? Felicita, I'm going to jump to ask you a question, the next question about IPO Philippines. It has an incentive program called You Want to Make a Mark, and also you want to patent and you want to design protection, those programs. And I would love to hear, I'm sure the audience would love to hear more about these programs, because it's just, when you were telling me about them earlier when we spoke, I thought it was fantastic. So tell us about these programs and what impact you've seen by these programs.
Okay, again, good afternoon. So to put in context, the Gender and Development Programs of IFOFIL focuses on two things. First is the organization focus, which covers the programs and activities for the employees or the organization itself. And the second is the client focused. And when we said client focus, of course, it covers the trademark registration, patent registration, and also the copyright and the adjudication services of the Intellectual Property Office. And one of the most popular, program, which is organization, client focus of IPOFIL, is the Wanna Make a Mark. If you know who won, somebody here who knows who won? It's a male version, of course, of the one is a male. And for women, it's Huwana. You can call it Huwana. So it's Wanna Make a Mark is a trademark protection incentive program, which is designed to incentivize or encourage trademark registration among women-led MSMEs, or the micro, small, medium enterprise, which waives the registration for trademarks. And those women-led MSMEs are working with a focus on the priority sectors of the Department of Trade and Industry and the Intellectual Property Office of the Philippines. And those priority sectors includes agribusiness, food processing, aerospace parts, automotive and auto spare parts, chemicals, among others. So IPOFIL implemented this trademark incentive package to encourage those MSMEs for them to develop their brands and, of course, to become more competitive in terms of the market, to develop their competitiveness in collaboration with other offices of the Department of Trade and Industry. And we are doing this nationwide through our IP regional offices or IP satellite offices, where our IP officers in the regional offices, field offices, are engaged widely in terms of promoting IP services. And we also developed and created some of our IP help desk, which aim to bring IP to the local communities near to the people. So that's it. And with the registration, women entrepreneurs could enjoy time-bound exclusive rights over their trademarks. This gives them strategic advantage in building their businesses and their trademarks. So as of now, we have started the trademarks Wanna Make a Mark in 2017. And as of this period of 2024, we have come to 6,000 plus of trademark registered under the Wanna Make a Mark. And if you can, and with the success of the Wanna Make a Mark, in 2022, we have launched another project, which is the Wanna Patent and Wanna Design. So if we have the Wanna Make a Mark for the trademark registration, of course, we have Wanna Patent and Wanna Design for the patent and industrial design and utility model. So in terms of the impact that we have seen for the projects, of course, the primary impact is the awareness of our constituents in terms of trademark registration, the importance of patents, and the importance of innovations in terms of their economic development and participation in economic activities, and which can be seen in our registration, the number of filings and registration. So if you will ask me of how are the eligibility criteria for them to be included as beneficiaries for our Wanna Make a Mark, of course, those individuals or enterprises should be engaged in business activities which are considered as priority sectors by the DTI or the IPOFIL. The business names are registered with the Department of Trade and Industries, Securities and Exchange Commission, of course, and the Cooperative Development Agency. And the total assets of those MSMEs should not exceed 100 million pursuant to the Magna Carta for MSMEs. And of course, if this is an enterprise, their employees should not exceed more than 20 employees. So there are qualifications to be included in this project. So the Wanna Make a Mark initially covered 6,500, but for the Wanna Patent and Wanna Design, it initially covered 50 inventions, 150 utility models, and 150 industrial design from its opening in 2022 until 2023. So these programs are specifically the Wanna Patent and Wanna Design, which was recently launched in 2022, is March 2022 in celebration of the Women's Week. So that's it. And as I mentioned, the Wanna Make a Mark, since it started in 2017, has a total of 6,500 trademark applications registered. And out of those 6,500, there are 1,696 for 4 years covered, or 37% of applicants have been registered, and some 27% are pending. So with that number, we can already gauge that the impact of this program for the women entrepreneurs in IPO in the Philippines.
Fantastic. I love that impact. And I mean, 6,500 trademarks and things like that. And even what you're doing now in the design space and the patent utility space, it's wonderful. So Claudia, I'm going to ask you about Paraguay as a part of the Latin American Network on Intellectual Property and Gender. Can you tell us about the organization and the role you take with the organization? And what are the findings that are coming out from the network and how women are benefiting from the collaboration that takes part in these organizations?
Yes, thank you, Vaishali. Yes, DINAPI is part of the Latin American Network on Gender and IP since April of 2023. The network was initially founded by IP offices from Chile, Colombia, Costa Rica, and Peru, along with the WIPO as a founding honorary member. Currently, the network has 13 IP offices from Latin American countries. These countries are Argentina, Brazil, Colombia, Chile, Costa Rica, Cuba, Ecuador, Mexico, Panama, Paraguay, Peru, Dominican Republic, and Uruguay. The network was formed in August of 2021, and the vision was to establish a point of collaboration with the IP offices, and mainly to be recognized or become a reference in addressing IP and gender at the regional and international level. The mission is to make the gender approach transversal in the politics, in the management, and the services provided by the IP offices. And this mainly through exchange of experiences, good practices, generating a space for interinstitutional collaboration and cooperation to contribute to close the gender gap and empower women in the region. It's comprised by a General Assembly, a pro tempore presidency, a technic secretariat, and even though DINAPI has been part of the network only since April of 2023, we have established, as a result of being part of the network, we have established a permanent committee on equality between women and men in DINAPI. This committee has developed an annual plan of equality between men and women in DINAPI. And among the actions developed by DINAPI from 2023 until now, from April of 2023 until now, we performed a series of actions. One of them was the actualization of the filing forms for patents and trademarks to include information such as gender, location, and principal activity in the application forms. This information will help us develop further projects, further actions, and also the annual plan, along with the National Statistics Center, has gathered information on economic activities developed by women in Paraguay, and we have found very interesting information. 61% of professionals in Paraguay, 61% are women versus 38% of men, but 61% of members of government are men versus 38% of women. That's a data I could not believe. I asked, please double check this. Is this correct? And it is correct. Also, we could see that 55% of office employees are women, and 63% of people in sales are women. So as a national IP office, I see with these numbers, we have a lot of work to do to empower women, to step up to these numbers, to be seen with these numbers, right? Also, one of the actions developed by the committee was a gathering of information of the people working at DINAPI. We also saw that currently 51% of women working at DINAPI, 51% are women and 49% are men. This is out of 140 employees. And another important action we could perform, or we are performing within this year, is our office will finally have a lactation room. For most of you, maybe it's like something basic, but this requirement for places, for working places, is just recently in Paraguay. And regarding the question on how are women benefiting from DINAPI being part of the network, I would like to stand out a case of a young entrepreneur, a woman entrepreneur. She's in her early 20s. She's 23, 24 years old. Her name is Tania Servin. During the pandemic, she prepared instant coffee. In Paraguay, most offices, we drink blended coffee with sugar and stirred. And she started doing that industrially last year. She participated in a workshop organized by the NAPI, and later on was invited by WIPO to participate in a workshop in Dominican Republic, where she could. There were 30 other young entrepreneurs. She did a lot of network, and just recently in February, last month, she was invited by the WTO to participate in a workshop at the WTO event She Trades, which was held in Abu Dhabi. And that was a very important collaboration from DINAPI, and we are very proud of her. We are constantly in constant touch with her, guiding her on the development of her business. So that's very
Thank you so much. I love hearing the stories, actually the numbers also of like the women in representation and stuff like that are just so interesting. But and I also, when you talked about the lactation room, I remember 2011, I had my second baby, and where I was working, they did not have one. And they had a room that anyone could walk into, and every time I was nursing, I was so worried someone was going to walk in. So little things like that have such a huge impact. So that resonated with me too. So now, Vivian, to you, I want to ask you if you could share some of the projects or programs you've implemented since assuming your role, and specifically those that are targeted at educating women about intellectual property. And what specific initiatives have been introduced to empower women in Namibia to understand and know the realm of IP?
So thank you for the question and the opportunity to share. So what is wonderful about Namibia, I must say, is that within the political leadership, there is a policy where we have zebra. So for every man, there's a woman. So if you have a man, you must have a woman, especially in cabinet and so on. So that's what we represent, and it's really sustained. But what we have done, as I indicated, is that we have specific policies that we developed in order to give effect to the whole issue of equality, diversity, and gender representation as a whole. Because like many countries, the right to equality is normally in your constitution, but the whole issue of implementation becomes then where you really have to have strong policies and processes that can assist you. So what we did is we have about 2 policies that touches on the areas that we are talking about, such as STEM and actually the women empowerment in IP itself. From our side as an IP office, in collaboration with our ministry, which is Industrialization and Trade, there is a national intellectual policy and strategy that has been developed. And in terms of that policy, there is the drive then to ensure that women, from a gender perspective, that they are really represented and encouraged to participate and benefit in the area of IP. Now, that policy is one that runs from 2019, and 2024 is the last year. So that policy then allowed us then to approach WIPO, I think in 2022, and we then in collaboration with WIPO, developed a program, which is the Namibia Women Impact Program. And the intention of the program was really to take women from generating IP to getting to commercialization. And the program identified 50 women, and so we went across the country. We have about 14 regions, and we took participants from each region, and we had 50 women. So they went through the whole process of training when it comes to what is IP, how to manage businesses, how to get to where you properly brand and package your products and get them to be commercialized. And so the program ran. Of course, a year was a bit short to cover all these 50 women, but about 10 of them really went through the whole program. And then we had 4 of them who came out tops and they got awards and so on. And if you go on the WIPO website where they talk about development stories, there is one of these ladies who developed products. It's in cosmetics. And we are all unique. My hair is different from yours, so using the products that you use does not really give my hair the nourishing that it requires. So what she did is she took, these traditional products and used them in order to adapt to our environment, because we are a country where you have a lot of deserts and the sun is really extreme. So the product is supposed to really protect you against the sun, but also nourish your skin and hair. And it's adapted to the type of hair that we all have and not a generic one. So she's there and you can read her story. And what we did with them is we also assisted them in registering IP, or at least protecting their IP with BIPA. The other program, and that program then, last year we had the DG of WIPO visiting Namibia. So the project was turned into a program, and now it was handed over to our Ministry of Gender Welfare. So in collaboration with BIPA, it's now becoming a program that we implement every year to get a number of women, at least 50, to then go through the process where we train them and bring their products to the market and give them that competitive edge as well as the knowledge on how to do that. The other, when we talk about the issues that were shared on STEM and so on, getting women to participate, or to at least participate in the area of science, technology, maths and engineering. So we collaborate mainly. We have a National Commission on Research, Technology and Science. And so there is also a policy that they are, I suppose, mandated to really implement, which is for 10 years from 2020 to 2030. And what the policy does is to really try and ensure that we, for example, train women in those specific areas and they're able to become professionals. And through that, then you link the IP office to at least facilitate the process for them to be able to protect their IPs, whether it's patent, trademarks or designs and so on. So what we have in all these areas, as I said, it's a collaboration. So we have different institutions, your universities, we have the TISCs, the institutions that are responsible for technology and science, and then they work together with the IP office. We have programs that we are introducing at school level because we believe that everybody sees IP as such a complex and difficult area, not accessible to all. But if we start early and we introduce IP into our school curriculum, it can already demystify this issue and everybody knows exactly what value it adds and drive them through that. So I think for us, going forward, of course, we push with the program that we have now established, but we can still do more with our advocacy and so on. And within our office, I mean, like everybody shared, you always find that women are more than men, but the issue is not the numbers, is what roles they, for example, occupy or what they do. My team, I think 60% is female. Maybe I'm lucky that I'm a female CEO, but it's still the same issue of looking at those critical positions and also providing the type of relief. We don't have the, this sensitivity of, like we had the example of, in my group, we were talking about they created this incentive where women can go on leave, to look after the children, that balance that you strike. So we're not there yet because everything costs money, you have to plan. But I think going forward, those are the things that you would want to introduce in your organization to make sure that the opportunities for your women are really created and they can do that. What is funny in Namibia is that you have now a challenge with the men, and they're asking, we must ensure that the boy child is not left behind. So we always have to strike a balance. I'm a mother of a boy, only one son. So we always have to strike a balance that when we do these things, that we take them along because they partner with the females and we don't leave them behind to create another problem. Thank you.
So thank you. I'm a mom of 2 boys. And so I also want to bring them along on the journey so that not only do they empower themselves, they empower women in their journey in life too. So we are now at time with our panel, and I want to thank you all so much for sharing sort of what you're doing in your countries and providing us with some examples and best practices and things like that. And so, you know, this is the conclusion of our panel. Thank you all so much for being here today. And, you know, happy Women's History Month. And for all of you who have come here from, you know, all over, please safe travels on your way back and enjoy your time here. So thank you.